Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Overwatch Project podcast. I haven't made a podcast in a while. Glad to be back. Today is February 20th, 2021, Saturday. It's morning where I'm at. And this podcast is going to be about, I'm going to talk about not only how people behave in the physical life here, but how that unquestioning compliance that people seem to have apparently also follows them into the afterlife. I certainly don't plan to behave that way when my time here is done and I pass on to the afterlife. But I have studied many thousands by now, near death, you can call them temporary clinical death experiences where people have out of body transition temporarily to the afterlife. I've also read many books about people that can control it and have out-of-body experiences. But a lot of really valuable data comes from the near-death experience, especially veridic ones or verifiable ones that doctors, nurses, people in hospitals, etc. have been able to verify what people during clinical death have witnessed while they're out of body, which makes it a evidential case. But anyway, my website is overwatchproject.com. That's overwatchproject.com, all one word. And I'll probably put a link to that in the description section below, but that'll be the only other link I put in there besides the Spreaker link for my Spreaker setup right now. And on overwatchproject.com, the first on the navigation bar, there is my BitChute channel and a button that says Odyssey, Odyssee. On there, if you want to see a complete backup of my YouTube channel, it's if you scroll down on the Odyssey page, there are three green buttons. The Overwatch channel button is essentially a complete mirror of everything that I have uploaded on YouTube. So if YouTube, or for whatever reason, my channel goes away there, you can see a complete backup of it at Overwatch channel button on the Odyssey page of overwatchproject.com. And then, of course, there's a button for my Minds page, which is a continuously updated blog of all types of different links, videos, stories, articles. Anytime I see anything interesting or that catches my attention and I read it or watch it, I will post it there. And that is updated usually many times a day. So please check that out. My links page contains tons of useful links. Books page has many titles of all the books that are in my library. And I do have two dogs with me. It is daytime here. If they should start barking, which they have a habit of doing, anytime a squirrel or human comes anywhere near my house or walks down my street, I will hit the pause button for a moment and then resume as soon as they're done going crazy. So let's get started. So what I've noticed is in this whole state, this whole pandemic nonsense that's going on in our world and all the complete insanity, there's this whole human behavior of compliance. And it's like a response that most humans seem to have, most people out there, they seem to have this almost like a triggered response to anything that they perceive as any type of authority. So if they get an instruction from something that they perceive as quote unquote official or quote unquote an authority, then logic or any kind of critical thinking, any kind of questioning of that authority is very, very minimal. And there's no like analysis of what they're being told to do. Case in point. Oop. Sorry about that. Anyway, so there's no questioning of the instruction, like on any kind of deep level. So people are told to wear coverings on their faces, even double coverings now, and these the information from the official sites themselves will reveal that is not a good idea, right? And even what they tell you ahead of time contradicts what they tell you later. Like they tell you these things don't work, they will not work, or they have to be custom fitted to your face. They don't work. You remember the Surgeon General, fuck Chi. You remember the videos of him saying that they won't work, and then later they change their minds. Double masks, yes. Double masks, no. Double masks, yes, again. So it's kind of like, it's almost like they're playing with people, because they will have, allow you to, if you do research or look into something, you'll be able to find the official scientific studies that completely contradict what you're being told to do, but you're being told to do it and by an authority, and most people are sheeple and they will comply. This bizarre behavior, I found, if you read enough near-death experience cases, especially the verifiable ones that are very intriguing. First of all, the afterlife, and I'm not speaking to people out there that are stuck on some dogmatic or doctrine-driven religion or whatever cult mind people have out there, and I'm not speaking to, I'm just speaking to the few people that follow me on YouTube. Check out my overwatchproject.com site, and I see their comments. I know that they're out there. I know that they understand what I'm saying. I'm not here to change anybody's minds. I'll get into that later, how that is a futile attempt to change people's minds. I was also, not to get too sidetracked here, but when I started doing my research, I had many, many ideas that were just completely wrong, premises that I had accepted that were wrong. They were polluting my research. They were interfering with my thinking. And it wasn't until I had inner conflict with myself that I was able to free my mind of all the programming garbage that had been put in there over all the years of education, stuff I had absorbed from family members, friends, their belief systems. Because you're born in a place, and then you get programmed in that place by whatever's going on there at the time until you die. And then if you're not careful, or if you don't learn about things, there's a high chance that you'll probably reincarnate here again and do it all over again. So, but in the afterlife, in thousands and thousands of cases, there are some type of encounters with supernatural, or what appears to be either deceased loved ones, which may be, I think they are the deceased loved ones. But don't forget, if people die and they have crazy ideas, crazy beliefs, I don't think that these crazy ideas or crazy beliefs simply go away because the person's dead, the physical body's dead. This trash that people have in their minds, when their minds leave their physical brains and they carry on their consciousness into the afterlife, follows them into the afterlife. There's obviously good and evil in this world, and there's good and evil in the afterlife world also. And the problem is that people die, and I was just listening to an interview, a few weeks ago, of an interview with a near-death experiencer, and it's the same exact thing I've heard thousands of times. So when they transition into the afterlife, at first they might stick around for a little while on the earth plane here, and they observe what's going on in their hospital room, maybe what's going on in the waiting room, maybe they think about their home, and then they because travel in the afterlife is at the speed of thought. You think about where you want to be, and then you can be teleported there instantaneously. So, then they go into their house and they observe things there. And then sometimes either a light will show up or a voice or something will pull them away, and they respond to that request or instruction, and then they get whisked off into a higher plane or a higher astral plane, maybe the medium astral or something like that. In this other dimension or other place where they get transported away from the earth plane, they may have a voice guiding them, or they might have an actual projection of a being. Could be an angel, a spirit guide. Sometimes it's the Jesus or a Buddha or whatever it is that they're most likely, I think, most likely to respond to. In that state, people seem to respond to the afterlife entities the same way I watch mindless people respond to authorities in this world or what they perceive to be an authority. So in the afterlife, if they get told, come here, you can't go there, don't turn around, whatever it is they're instructed to do, they simply comply. Nobody, I've never read a case, and unless it happens to me, I'll be the first, I think. I've never come across a case where anybody stops for a moment and looks at their spirit guide or whoever it is talking to them in whatever fashion that they happen to be communicating, and says, stops and says, hey, who the fuck are you? Who the hell are you to tell me where to go? I spent an entire lifetime on the earth plane being ruled over by an organized criminal operation, aka government, being forced to pay fees, taxes for my earnings that I have to spend time and effort making. So you get robbed here, you get told what to do, you get told how fast you can drive, you can, where you can go, where you can't go, what you can know, what you can't know, what official news is, what alternative media, they don't want you to see it, and all this other garbage, and everything, all the garbage you're taught in school, the climate change hoax, the corona hoax, all the other stuff that's going on here, and then you die in the afterlife, and you don't need transportation to travel. You're a complete free agent. You don't need. You can probably change your appearance. People transition into the afterlife generally become a young, perfected version of themselves. Even old people, they become visually the etheric body or the astral body will, once free of the physical decaying body, will restore itself to its most perfected, beautiful version in most cases after you transition to the afterlife. That's what a lot of near-death or afterlife regression has. There's a lot of books on this stuff. You can read about it for years. But anyway, the thing is that at this point, you couldn't be possibly more free. You don't need resources from others to survive. You're true, and I don't buy. I always question all this other stuff that all these so-called gurus, they want to tell you all this stuff like that. You have to surrender your ego. You have to have this ego death. You're not really an individual. You're just part of a collective consciousness, and you're just having kind of like this faux individualistic experience. And you and the tree down the street and the other person across the road from you, you're all the same thing. And I don't necessarily buy into any of this stuff. And just because somebody has some type of charismatic presence or voice, or they come across as being somehow acknowledged by others as a guru, quote unquote, doesn't mean that they're fucking right. Who's to say any of this garbage that we're told, just because it comes from some sort of guru, is correct? I don't necessarily buy into any of this garbage. I don't think that I am the same as a tree down the street, or that I am the same as some other person, or that my consciousness is just having an illusion of individuality. I think that's all garbage. I think that there's an effort here to make people surrender their individuality. And this effort is everywhere. It's everywhere. The state wants you to surrender your individuality and be patriotic to the state. The religions all want you to surrender your individuality, and they want you to be part of their collective. The group mind, the mob mentality, this effort to take away individuality and then dump it into some collective garbage pile is everywhere. It's in everything, and I was born resisting it. Now, I don't know if it has anything to do with my Vedic astrology chart. I think that when you're incarnate, whatever moment you're born into, there's a base program that's put into the physical human body. I mean, we're screwed on so many ways when you incarnate as a human being. Your brain limits your consciousness to an unbelievable reduced state. You have to, basically, you're completely mind wiped. You have to learn from scratch. You then get all this programming that comes into you from schools, from religion, from family. All this garbage information is dumped into you, and therefore all garbage comes out. And hopefully my dogs will not interrupt anymore. Anyway, so people behave accordingly. They don't even question their own programming, right? There's an interview I watched of this guy. Hold on, let me find this because it's very interesting. There's an author called a guy named Robin, Robin Hanson, Hanson. And he's interviewed on Keith Knight, Knight, Knight. He's a YouTuber, and he has a channel on Odyssey and BitChute, I think, also. And he's a genuine anarchist, free thinker, part of the freedom movement. He does a lot of interviews, book reviews, and stuff like that, and discussions about freedom. And he was interviewing this author, Robin Hanson, who wrote a book, The Elephant in the Brain. And there's even a website, or you can find the book online, The Elephant in the Brain. There's actually a Audible version of it, which I downloaded so I can listen to it. I prefer to listen to books. Anyway, he is basically a guy that's been studying human behavior because it's his job, psychology, sociology, etc. And it's the thing that I've talked about before, where it's pointless to try to change anybody else's mind. You can't do that. A person can only change their own mind. But for some reason, it's super easy for psychopaths that run the world to brainwash everybody. Yet you can show them that they've been brainwashed, or that they're believing nonsense with physical or, all kinds of evidence. And they will continue, they will even double down on the brainwashing. It's quite the bizarre behavior. So when people pass on after they leave the earth plane and they move on into the afterlife, when they encounter anything, nobody takes a moment, a second to say, who is this being talking to me? First of all, none of the religitard garbage is going to work on me because I've freed my mind of it. None of this trash, new age garbage is going to work on me. So if some being engages with me in a conversation or a communication after I pass on this life and tries to direct me one way or the other, I'm going to tell them to go F off. And I'm not going anywhere with anybody or obeying anything. I'm going to travel on my own and discover everything that's out there. Really, you can't be harmed at that point, right? I mean, even religiotards believe that they're eternal beings. If you think about the nonsense of, like that these people are told that if they offend their vengeful, murdering God, they will spend the rest of eternity in hell, quote unquote. There's a lot of people out there that believe that stuff. And the eternity means that you are literally admitting that you live forever. That, of course, once you're free of linear time, everything is kind of eternal, because if there's no linear time, space time like we understand it here, a lot of people in near-death experience say that time is different in the afterlife. Everything, the rules are different there. The rules are different, and the only way you can be controlled is if you submit to control. And most people do that subconsciously. They do it without thinking. They're on autopilot with that. Every single time that people have these temporary death experiences, I haven't found a single case where anybody questions any of these beings or spirits or family members. Like if you encounter your family member, that loved one or whatever that passed away years ago, and you ask them, nobody stops and asks them, how did you get here? And, why do you think you know what's going on here? Why should I listen to you in life? What if the person was an idiot in life? Might not they be an idiot in the afterlife? Gee, I don't even know what to call this podcast, what the title should be. Anyway, so the problem is that nobody questions anything. Most people. Not nobody, but most people. And the people that do, the people that have freed their minds, they are rejected by the group minds. Somebody absorbed into their group does not want to leave the group. They're lulled into some sort of zombified, unthinking sleep state. They only think what the group allows them to think. And you can see that more now than ever before. It's everywhere. You can see it in the so-called woke culture, the SJWs, and all the nonsense that's going on, like at Disney and all these other companies. And you can observe it everywhere. You can just go out shopping and you can observe it. If you live in a state where they really can't enforce any kind of mask mandates, and you're the only one, or maybe you and one other person, or at most two or three other people, are walking around without their face coverings. I mean, you can feel. At least I can feel like the energy coming off of these people. It's physically draining for me to be around morons, because I can feel the programming. It's just radiating all around me. I don't know if it's like a psychic thing that I have. I have had psychic experiences in the past, or maybe I'm empathic to the fear that these people are casting off all over the place. And I just have to kind of like, I just have to kind of push through it. I'm like, the problem is their problem. They're the ones living in a delusion. They're the ones that whatever garbage they believe in right now, when they die, they'll carry that garbage into the afterlife. And nobody seems to question any of this stuff in any kind of deep, meaningful way. I hope I made my point. I just wanted to upload something today and talk about that, because it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. So, The other thing I wanted to give a plug, because she always plugs me, is Sophia Di Gregorio. She is an occultist. Really, she's a kind of like a de-occultist, because if you want to learn about occult, which means hidden information, and it's hidden for a reason, because the people in power don't want anybody to know this stuff. I should do a whole video on good and evil and versus light and dark again, because I could talk about that stuff. You know what? I will do a separate, podcast on that. But I don't want to, join all these different topics I have in my head into a single podcast and have it bounce all over the place. I just wanted to point out that, in summary, when people die or when I pass on from this life to the next, I've committed myself to disobedience, travel to wherever I want to go, not submission, no compliance, and I definitely am maintaining my individuality, and I will not be under the control of anything after I pass on. And that's a mindset that I have, and therefore that's the mindset that I'm going to move on out of this place from. And even here, I resist in any way I can control. That's it. So, overwatchproject.com. Don't forget to check out the occult files of Sophia Di Gregorio. I'm going to give her a plug because she seems to plug me, and she does have amazing material. She just posted a very short podcast. It was like under 10 minutes just a few days ago. And be looking forward to her next long one. It's always a intrigue to listen, as she has some really great books. They're available on her Amazon page, and her website is the occult. There's no D. It's occult files of Sophia Di Gregorio.wordpress.com. So somebody's trying to call me while I'm recording. I got to go now, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good day, good night, wherever you happen to be listening to this.